The galaxy was vast, filled with thousands of star systems and countless empires, but nothing ever truly surprised the ruling councils anymore. They had seen wars, they had seen peace, and they had seen young species rise and then fall back into dust. Humanity, to them, was just another small voice in the endless dark, another people trying to survive in a universe that never cared. The older races laughed quietly whenever humans claimed to be building something new. Humans were seen as ambitious but weak, noisy but unimportant. That changed on one single day. It began with whispers across the comms of distant listening posts. At first, the signals were dismissed as errors, a distortion, a spike in readings, perhaps a passing asteroid field, but then the pattern repeated. The object was moving with intent, not drifting. It was not a storm, not a fragment, but a ship. And not just any ship. On the edge of a quiet star system, sensors recorded the arrival of a warship so large it blocked out entire constellations. Its surface was black, sharper than any design the galaxy had ever seen, with angles that swallowed radar and light. It did not glow like other vessels. It did not shimmer with painted banners or symbols. It was silent, it was dark, and it moved with a precision that felt unnatural. The first Titan-Class warship of humanity had arrived. The moment its colossal form broke into view, the galaxy froze. Alien eyes widened. Soldiers who had fought for centuries whispered that they had never seen such a machine. Diplomats fell silent mid-sentence as news streamed into council halls. Even emperors and high lords paused, their voices caught in their throats as they stared at the image on their holoscreens. No one had expected this. The Titan was not a ship in the way other ships were. It was more like a continent given engines, a mountain remade into steel. Its sheer mass created its own gravity distortions. Entire fleets could have hidden inside its shadow. Its engines burned with a glow that was not the usual pale blue of ion drives, but a deep red gold, like the heart of a star. Every detail of its design spoke of power, not power borrowed or copied from others, but power created by human hands. The alien rulers wondered how this was possible. Humanity was young. Humanity had no empire stretching across hundreds of worlds. Humanity had no history of galactic conquest. Yet here was a vessel that made their proudest dreadnoughts look like toys. Across the galaxy, rumors spread faster than light. Some said the humans had uncovered ancient technology, something buried and forbidden. Others whispered that they had bargained with darker forces, exchanging souls for power. And some simply believed that this was humanity's true face, hidden until now. The Titan did not speak. It did not fire weapons. It only moved into position above the neutral system, its vast shadow covering planets below. Civilian ships in the area reported engines failing, as if the Titan's presence itself drained them. Merchant convoys fled, their captains unable to look directly at the colossal vessel drifting silently in the void. And yet, the humans inside did nothing but watch. This silence was worse than any attack. If the Titan had fired, if it had destroyed something, the galaxy would have understood. Violence was familiar, destruction was predictable, but to simply arrive, to show itself, and to wait without explanation, that was terror. The galaxy did not know if this was an introduction or a warning. In one council chamber, an alien elder leaned forward, her voice trembling as she whispered to her peers, "This is not a ship. This is a statement." The Titan's black hull carried no symbols, no flags, no marks of allegiance. It was not here to represent a nation or a colony. It was here to represent humanity as a whole. The galaxy had dismissed them as young, as fragile, but now every empire was forced to face a new reality. Humanity had stepped onto the stage of history with a weapon no one could match. Time seemed to stop. No one dared to move their fleets. No one dared to provoke. The greatest powers of the galaxy found themselves waiting, frozen, for the humans to speak first. And as the Titan slowly rotated, its massive structure catching the light of the distant star, the galaxy realized something far more terrifying than its size. The Titan was not the end of a process. It was the beginning. If this was humanity's first true warship of its class, what would the second look like? The 10th? An entire fleet? A voice finally came through the silence. Calm, steady, unmistakably human. The message carried across channels, translated into every language known among the stars. "This is humanity's Titan-Class warship. We are here." There were no threats, no boasts, no explanations. Just those simple words. And they were enough to shake every empire, every ruler, every soldier, because it was no longer a matter of if humanity would rise, it was a matter of how long the galaxy could hold its breath while watching them. The first contact had been made, and nothing would ever be the same again. The fear spreads. The news of humanity's Titan spread across the stars like fire across dry grass. At first, only the border outposts and merchant ships knew of it, but within hours, the whole galaxy was talking. Holoscreens in distant markets replayed the same haunting image, a black mountain-shaped warship drifting silently through space. Its shadow seemed to swallow the light of suns. Its size mocked every fleet ever built, and its silence, more than anything, unsettled those who watched. On alien homeworlds, the ruling classes gathered in urgent meetings. Some whispered in fear, others shouted in denial. How could a young species create such a thing? It had taken ancient empires thousands of years to build fleets capable of holding power. Humanity was barely a century in the stars, and yet they had unveiled something beyond imagination. In one great council chamber, the leaders of 7 powerful species debated. The air was thick with tension. A scaled warlord slammed his claw against the table, declaring it impossible. They are too young, he roared. Too small to have done this alone. Someone must have given them forbidden designs. But no one answered him. The silent truth was clear. No signs pointed to stolen technology. No marks hinted at outside help. Everything about the Titan carried the design of human ambition. Fear turned into suspicion. If the humans could build this, what else had they been hiding? How many more Titans waited behind the dark curtain of Earth's defenses? Was this a lone monster, or the first of a fleet that could crush empires? The lack of answers gnawed at every ruler, every general, every merchant prince. Civilian channels were no less shaken. Traders who once laughed at human colonies now avoided human space, unwilling to risk their fragile ships near such a terrifying machine. Citizens on alien worlds watched broadcast with unease. Some panicked, believing war was coming. Some admired the humans for daring to stand against the mighty, but most simply stared at the holoscreens, silent, unsure what tomorrow would bring. In military outposts, admirals reviewed their fleets with growing dread. Their dreadnoughts, once considered unmatched, now looked like fragile toys beside the Titan. No combination of ships seemed enough. Even the idea of forming alliances felt weak, for how could unity stop a vessel that seemed beyond calculation? Engineers studied the images, but they could not measure its weapons, its shields, or its limits. They could only confirm one truth. The Titan was real, and it was far stronger than anything the galaxy had prepared for. Fear spread deeper still. On some worlds, small protests began. Citizens demanded answers from their rulers. Why had they underestimated humans? Why had no one warned them? The sight of the Titan raised questions no empire could answer. And in the silence, paranoia grew. What was the Titan's purpose? Some believed it was a war declaration. They imagined human fleets waiting just beyond the stars, ready to strike. Others whispered that it was not meant for battle at all, but as a shield, a promise that humans could no longer be bullied or ignored. Yet the question itself divided entire societies. Every empire feared that a single wrong move might provoke the humans into revealing the Titan's true strength. Meanwhile, the ship itself remained quiet. It floated calmly above the neutral system, unmoving except for the slow, steady glow of its engines. Its silence was worse than war. Every hour that passed without explanation deepened the tension. Fleets held back, their admirals frozen by indecision. Rulers postponed other plans, unable to think of anything beyond the massive black ship now dominating their skies. And while the galaxy feared, humanity watched in silence. Inside the Titan, no panic, no hesitation. The humans had built their masterpiece, and now they let the galaxy see it. They spoke no threats, for none were needed. The sight of the Titan alone was a language stronger than words. A strange thought spread across the stars. Perhaps the humans were not showing their power to demand war, but to demand recognition. They had arrived on the galactic stage not as children, not as beggars, but as equals. The fear that spread through the galaxy was not only about the Titan's weapons, it was about what the ship represented, the end of an old order. For centuries, the older races had believed they alone ruled the stars. Now they had seen a vessel that changed everything. Humanity had pulled the curtain from their eyes and revealed a new truth. The future was no longer theirs alone. The humans had entered the great game, and they had entered with a Titan. From warlords to merchants, from emperors to soldiers, the galaxy trembled with the same question. If this was what humanity could build in silence, what would they do now that all eyes were watching? The fear spread, and with it came the realization that nothing would ever be the same again. The first contact, the neutral star system, had never mattered much. It was a place where merchants refueled, where smugglers traded, and where no empire cared enough to plant their flags. But now it became the center of the galaxy. Above its quiet planets, the Titan floated black and immense like a silent mountain in space. Alien fleets arrived one after another, not to attack, but to watch. Frigates, cruisers, and heavy dreadnoughts formed a trembling ring around the system, their weapons armed but never fired. Every commander waited for orders, but no one dared to move closer. No one wanted to be the first to provoke. The Titan's stillness was like the calm eye of a storm, and all who stared at it knew one thing. If it unleashed its strength, the system would not survive. Within the great halls of power, leaders decided to send envoys. They needed answers. What did humanity want? Why had they unveiled this monster in neutral space instead of hiding it near Earth? Was this a show of peace or the shadow of conquest? One by one, ships carrying diplomats entered the system. They were greeted with silence. No shots fired, no warnings, no commands. The Titan did not react as they approached. Its enormous hull remained still, its engines glowing faintly, casting a deep red hue across the nearby planet's clouds. To those who saw it up close, the size was overwhelming. Their ships, mighty by their own standards, looked like insects against the Titan's hull. The alien envoys sent their requests for dialogue. For hours, there was no reply. Some began to fear that humanity had built a warship, but not the courage to use it. Others believed the humans were testing the galaxy, forcing everyone to feel small before they spoke. And then, without warning, the Titan answered. The communication screen of every envoy ship lit up at once. A human figure appeared, not armored, not decorated, just simple and calm. His voice carried no arrogance, no mocking tone. It was steady, controlled, and cold. "You wanted to see us," he said. "Now you have." The words echoed across every translator, reaching every corner of the system. The envoys sat in silence, unsure how to respond. The humans had not spoken of peace nor of war. They had not asked for recognition nor demanded surrender. They had simply stated their presence, as if that alone was enough. The alien leaders tried to speak. A scaled ambassador bowed slightly, asking if humanity wished for alliance. Another, from a proud warrior race, demanded to know if this was a declaration of dominance. But the human face on the screen did not smile, did not flinch. He only answered with more silence. Finally, he spoke again. "Humanity is no longer what you believed. We have no wish to beg, no reason to hide. You thought we were weak. You thought we were small. But now you know the truth." Behind his words, the Titan slowly rotated, its massive structure glinting under the light of the system's star. The movement was deliberate, like a predator turning its gaze upon prey. Every envoy felt the weight of that silence. It was not just a ship speaking. It was an entire species. The envoys tried again to push for answers. Was this ship the only one? Were there more hidden near Earth? What would humanity do next? But the human never gave clear answers. His calm expression never changed. His silence said more than any threat could. The galaxy realized that this was not simply a meeting. It was a warning. Humanity had arrived not to ask for a seat at the table, but to show that the table itself had shifted. On distant homeworlds, people watched the broadcasts. For the first time, they saw humans not as fragile colonists or noisy traders, but as something larger. The Titan was not just a warship, it was a stage, a symbol, a shadow cast across the galaxy's pride. Some citizens admired the humans, whispering that perhaps a new order had come, one that could challenge the arrogance of the old empires. Others trembled, fearing that the Titan's silence hid a hunger for war. Every mind turned to the same thought. If this was only their beginning, how far could they go? And still, the Titan did not fire a single shot. Its calm presence was enough. As the envoys left, shaken and unsure, the human voice gave only one final message. "We are not asking permission. We are here." The comms closed. The Titan remained vast and unshaken, its engines glowing like a waiting storm. And the galaxy, filled with fleets and armies, could only watch. It was first contact, but it did not feel like a conversation. It felt like the announcement of a new age. Humanity had spoken, and their words would never be forgotten. The silent threat. The Titan stayed in orbit, unmoving, its massive form casting a shadow across the neutral world below. Days passed, yet the warship did not advance, did not fire, and did not retreat. It simply lingered like a silent storm. To many, this was the most terrifying part. Weapons that roared could be measured. Armies that marched could be tracked. But a threat that did nothing yet refused to leave. This was harder to face. Across the galaxy, fear deepened into something sharper. Armies could not fight silence. Fleets could not battle stillness. The Titan's presence itself was a weapon, one that eroded the courage of those who stared at it for too long. Commanders of alien navies reviewed their tactical maps again and again, but every simulation ended the same. If the Titan fired, fleets would burn. If the Titan moved, planets would fall. Scientists tried to measure it. They directed probes and long-range scans, hoping to pierce its black hull. Yet every reading came back twisted, blocked by strange distortions. It was as if the ship's very skin bent space itself, refusing to reveal its secrets. Some claimed it was cloaked in a technology older than the galaxy. Others insisted it was simply beyond their understanding. What unsettled them most was not knowing if the Titan had weaknesses at all. And still, humanity said nothing. The envoys who had once spoken with the humans sent desperate messages for more answers. But the Titan offered only silence, its comms closed, its engines humming like the heartbeat of a giant. No one could predict when or if it would speak again. The stillness became unbearable. Even the strongest empires felt their hands tremble. Rumors began to grow. In the black markets, whispers spread that the Titan carried weapons that could split stars. On backwater worlds, stories claimed the humans had harnessed the minds of their dead, binding them into the ship's systems to create a vessel alive with ghosts. Some called it superstition, others laughed it away, but the fear in their laughter was thin and hollow. The galaxy began to change its rhythm around the Titan. Merchant routes shifted to avoid the system. Military fleets pulled back, afraid of being too close. Even pirate bands abandoned their raids, unwilling to risk crossing paths with humanity's shadow. Life across the stars bent around the warship, as if the galaxy itself was learning to orbit the Titan. But silence was a fragile thing. And silence, in the end, only fueled more fear. One empire, bold in its pride, decided to test the humans. They sent a squadron of ships to approach the Titan, not in attack but in defiance. They flew closer than any others had dared, their weapons armed but silent. The galaxy held its breath as the small fleet drew near. Every eye turned to the Titan, waiting for it to react. The black warship did nothing. The squadron circled, scanning, taunting, their voices carried across open comms. Still, the Titan remained calm, unmoving. Some began to believe the humans were bluffing, that the ship was strong in appearance but hollow within. Hope flickered among those who longed to see weakness. Then it happened. Without firing a single shot, the Titan unleashed a wave across the system, invisible, silent, but devastating. The approaching squadron's systems flickered. Shields collapsed. Weapons powered down. Engines died in unison. One by one, the proud ships drifted into silence, powerless and broken. They did not explode. They did not burn. They simply fell quiet, floating helplessly before the Titan's massive shadow. The humans never spoke. They never explained. They did not destroy the disabled fleet. They only let it drift, crippled and humiliated as a message to the galaxy. No empire needed a translator to understand that message. The Titan had shown what it could do without firing a weapon, and if this was only a glimpse, what would its full strength look like? Across the stars, rulers lost sleep, generals rechecked their fleets, citizens whispered in fear. The silence of the Titan was no longer just unsettling. It was unbearable. Its calm presence forced the galaxy to confront a truth they could no longer deny. Humanity was not asking for recognition. They had already taken it, and still the Titan lingered, silent, waiting, watching. The galaxy understood now that this was the true threat. Not the fire of its cannons, not the brightness of its engines. The true threat was its silence, a silence that bent the will of empires, that froze the hearts of warriors, that rewrote the balance of power without firing a single shot. In that silence, The galaxy could hear something else, the sound of an ending. The old order was dying, and the Titan was its funeral bell. The unshaken future. The Titan had now become more than a warship. It was a shadow stretched across the galaxy, a reminder that the order of power had shifted. No matter how the empires argued, no matter how their councils planned, every path ended the same. They had no answer for humanity's creation. Days turned into weeks, and still the Titan drifted above the neutral world. It did not fire a shot. It did not issue demands. It only remained silent, watching, and that silence spread deeper than any weapon could. Entire star systems hesitated to move their fleets, unwilling to draw attention. Colonies whispered that war was coming, though no declaration had been made. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy felt unsure of tomorrow. Within the Titan, humanity was calm. The crew moved with discipline, their voices steady. They knew what their ship represented. It was not just steel, not just engines, not just weapons. It was the result of centuries of struggle, of being mocked and underestimated. The Titan carried the weight of every insult, every dismissal, every empire that once thought of humans as weak. Now, without a word of revenge, it answered all of them with its silent presence. Alien leaders tried again to push for certainty. Messages were sent. Treaties were offered. Threats were whispered through diplomatic channels. None of them moved the humans. The Titan responded to no trick, no plea. Its silence was not the silence of hesitation. It was the silence of power. This truth began to reshape the galaxy itself. Trade routes bent toward Earth, merchants deciding it was safer to ally with humans than to defy them. Lesser empires, once ignored, reached out to humanity for protection, hoping the shadow of the Titan would shield them. Even proud warrior races who had once scorned humans began to rethink their stance. Their generals restless as they imagined their fleets burning under the red glow of Titan engines. But perhaps the most dangerous change was not political. It was psychological. For centuries, the galaxy's rulers had believed that power belonged only to them. They had thought that humanity was too new, too fragile, too scattered to matter. The Titan erased that illusion in a single instant. Every child who looked at the images of the warship grew up with a different belief. They did not see humans as weak. They saw them as unstoppable. Some called it respect. Others called it fear. Whatever the word, it was permanent, and so the Titan remained patient and unshaken. It had already done what it needed to do. It had shown itself. The message was clear. Humanity was no longer asking for a place among the stars. They had taken it. One final time, the Titan opened its comms. A human voice, steady and cold, carried across the systems. Do not mistake our silence for weakness. We will not be ignored. We will not be broken. The future is ours, and you will see it. Then the channel closed again. No more words were needed. No more threats required. The galaxy now lived under the shadow of the Titan, and in that shadow the future had already been rewritten. The Titan slowly turned, its engines flaring like the rising of a new sun. And as it drifted away into the endless dark, every empire understood that they had not just witnessed a ship. They had witnessed the dawn of humanity's age. The old balance of power was gone. The new order had begun. And no one, no empire, no fleet, no council could stop it.